Borg, also known as Coach. I'm going to repeat that because sometimes I get cut off when I go live. Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Professor Bobby Borg, also known as Coach. And today what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about creating a measuring strategy and then assembling your marketing plan of attack. Okay? So measuring is very, very important. Essentially what measuring is, it's the process of creating systems to analyze, collect, and act on information that is relevant to the goals of your marketing plan. The whole idea behind creating a measuring strategy is to make sure that you do the right things and you don't just do things. Okay, let me give you an example of this. So one time a student came and talked to me, and that student basically said to me that they're really upset with the, with the number of people that came to their show. They were just upset because there was very few people there. So I asked them, I said, well, what did you do to promote the show? And they said, well, we did an email list. And I said, let's start there. So I took a look at the analytics in what was called their MailChimp account. And it showed that out of the 200, or actually the 438 people that actually were on their email list, only 3 people actually opened the email. Only 3 people. And then I asked them, I said, can I see the email? And they showed me the email, and it was absolutely ridiculous. The subject line said, yo, instead of having a very, very clear, sort of catchy subject line. And the body of the email was very, very weak. All it basically says was, yo, we're doing a show on Friday, come out. So it didn't grab their attention. It didn't draw them in and stimulate interest. It didn't help them make a decision, and there was no call of action, right? So the moral of the story is, if I did not talk to this artist and I did not show them the importance of measuring their marketing, they would have been doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. And that is the definition, my friends, of insanity. So you have to have a measuring strategy in place so that we can do the right things, okay? All right, no. So first of all, so you might be asking, well, what are the things that we'd measure? Well, a number of different things. You can measure like your customer satisfaction. You can measure your competitors to see the kinds of strategies that they're doing and what's working for them. You can ask your fans questions about the products that you're releasing and ask like how they feel about them. Same thing with your pricing strategies. If you're selling merch at a certain price, you might reach out to them and ask them if they think it's fair. Where you're placing your products, how is it working? If you play a show at a particular club, how did it do compared to another club? If you are promoting in certain places, how is it comparing to the promotion at another place that you're doing it? And then of course your promotional strategies, like which things are working the best? Where are you getting the most value for your money? Is it in ads? Is it in guerrilla street marketing? Is it in influencer marketing? You have to test these things, okay? These are some of the things you could measure. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about sources of measuring. So first of all, there's streaming tools, right? So we need to know about the measuring tools that are available in our Spotify for artists. There's top tracks, recent activity, play count, monthly listeners and followers. These are all things that can give us some indication about how well we're doing. Also, your distributor tools. Your distributor, whether or not that be, CD Baby or whether or not that be DistroKid, they usually can have tools that can help you measure global activity, daily streams, your top playlists that you're featured on, etc. So that's a mandatory, right? How about your social media tools? Things like in YouTube Studio, you can measure views, you could measure watch time, impressions, click-through rate, engagement, and so much more, which is so important because if you're not looking at the analytics in your YouTube, you're just going to keep on making the same shorts over and over again. You're going to make the same long form content over and over again. You're going to make the same intros that everybody is just dropping out on. So you have to measure that so you can improve. Facebook Insights, look at things like views and likes and shares and impressions, ad success. Look at your IG analytics. Look at things like views and likes and shares and impressions. How about on your TikTok? There's TikTok analytics. You can look at views again, engagement, watch time, new followers, total play time. And the whole idea behind this is that when you're looking at these analytics, it helps you to improve and get better. Then there's also your direct mail, like internet services and things like MailChimp, which I talked about earlier. You can look at open rates, click-through rates, subscriber bounces. All of this is going to help you become better, right? How about link services? Things like Linktree. You can look at things like your click-through rate, your total clicks, your traffic, source, your best performing links. All of this stuff is important. There's something called Bitly where you can track your actual links to maybe a promotion. So you could see the number of people that clicked on the link and where they clicked on that link, right? All important stuff. How about search engine tools that will help you measure your marketing? Things like Google ads, right? By running Google ads, you can see the clicks and you can see the impressions and the conversions that you get. You can look at your Google AdSense account and you can look at your earnings and see month by month, like, are your earnings getting better? Are they getting worse? You can look at Google Analytics. Google Analytics is where you place, let's just say, for example, code into your website. So when people go to your website, you can see which pages they're staying on, how long they're staying on it. You could see things like, are they bailing right away when they get to your website? Google Alerts. Google Alerts are really, really helpful. For example, a lot of times I get emails that say, hey, somebody is talking about you, and here's the link. So I can set up a Google Alert for my name, so when someone posts an article about me or a review or something, it alerts me. So you can set up Google Alerts. That's always very, very helpful, right? All right, what else? You can obviously analyze your sales and streams by looking at financial records, packing slips, like invoices, like spreadsheets, bank accounts, all right? We're live here, you guys, so you might hear some noise in the background. You can use like your codes for your record, like your UPC code or your ISRC codes. These are also ways that you can track the movement of your songs. Okay, other ways that you can measure your marketing. There's you can just count your inventory. Like in the merch world, you count inventory. You count the number of shirts that go into a venue and then the number of shirts that come out of the venue. You could count people, the number of people on your socials, the number of people that are building on your email lists, the number of people that come to your shows. You could also use something called a marketing information system code, which is essentially, if you think about it, like a QR code. So you could QR code your flyers, and when you're handing out flyers in different sections, you could sort of track where you're getting the most clicks, where your promotion is going to be the most, is being the most useful. I once created something called the promotional effectiveness code, or form rather, and basically what that was is I did a number of promotions, and every time somebody would call in or contact, I would say, where did you hear about us? And then I would track the things that were the most useful. It's a very basic strategy, but it's very, very important. Just ask, where did you hear about us? And then there's, of course, conducting primary research. You can actually reach out, you could do surveys with your fans, you could do interviews with your fans, you could just observe your fans, like where do they seem to be responding the most? And then of course there's secondary research, things like media sources, the trades, charts, where you can look at Shazam data and Polestar data and Spotify charts data and Billboard Hot 100 data. And, so that you can get an idea of like what is working, generally speaking, in the music industry and what is not. Then, of course, you can always hire professionals to do this for you, but that costs a little bit of money, right? Okay, now what do you do when you get all the data? Obviously, you need to convert it into something that you can read and your team can read. So a lot of times, that's done for you with the different services that are available, but oftentimes you need to convert this data into certain charts. Then you need to analyze it. You need to make sure it's representative of your target audience. In other words, if you're getting data from people that are not obviously part of your audience, it's meaningless. You want to make sure it's reliable. What that basically means is that if we could keep on conducting this data over several months, would it be consistent? Or is it like 1 minute it's this, the next minute it's that? that tells us that our data is not really quite reliable. We need to kind of be able to repeat the same thing over and over again to really get a true sense of what's going on, okay? Before you make decisions and make a change, okay? And then what else? Then you have to have an action plan. So now that we have this data, what are we gonna do? And the weird thing about data is a lot of times it's not clear what you're supposed to do. I mean, like the data, you have to analyze it and you have to kind of ask yourself, what are you gonna take away from it? Because it's not like data tells you, well, this, and this, so do this. You know, a lot of times you kind of have to try to figure out like what to do, okay? All right, so just moving on really quickly, let's move on to what's called assembling your marketing plan. So once you have, you know, the full, an important elements of your marketing plan, okay, is getting it on paper. Because remember, if it's not on paper, it's only vapor. So you have to take the full marketing process. What is your vision? All of the research that you actually did, you know, the competitor research, your customer research, you have to take your goals, then you have to take all the strategies to achieve your goals, your branding, your product, your price, your promotion, and you need to put that all on paper, what is called a budget. And a budget basically is just figuring out how much everything that you say you're going to do is going to cost you. Because if you were trying to pitch this to like an investor, or you were trying to give this to your team, they have to have an idea, how much is this campaign going to cost? So these days, fortunately, you can Google most of that information and you can just find out, how much is it going to cost to make 300 shirts? How much is it going to cost to make 300 pieces of vinyl? Okay? That's pretty simple and straightforward. Then, of course, you want to put this all into a timeline, because you can't just have this list of things that you're going to do. It needs to be in some sort of systematic order. There's certain things that need to be done before other things, and there's certain things that need to be done at a certain point before, let's just say, for example, the release of a record. Like, you can't wait till after your record's released to do certain things. So for example, you want to pitch Spotify at least 3 weeks before the release of your single to the editorial playlist, right? That's something that typically you would do before. You want to do a pre-save campaign maybe 2 or 3 weeks before as well, right? So that's kind of the idea. You're putting all the things that you say you're going to do into some sort of systematic order. And there's so many ways that you can do this. You know, you can do this by quarter. So you could say quarter 1, we're going to do this. Quarter 2, we're going to do this. Quarter 3, we're going to do this. Quarter 4, we're going to do this. You can do this. You can organize it that way. Something I really like is what's called a work breakdown schedule. That's basically where like you have the date, like let's just say the record release, and then you have all the activities listed and you count backwards from the actual release date, and you go, okay, well, this needs to be done 3 weeks before. This needs to be done 2 weeks before. This needs to be done 1 week before. This needs to be done 1 week after. And you just kind of lay it out in relationship to you so you can see all of the things that you have to do in relation to each other. Okay, and then like typically in a marketing plan, you create what's called an executive summary. An executive summary is like a 1-page pitch, kind of